When we're practicing the clarinet, it can be frustrating if we don't employ some solid practice techniques. And here's what I'm talking about. A lot of times it can be very tempting to play the piece from beginning to end, see how it goes. Here's the problem with that. By the time we get to the end, when you're just learning a piece, you have made, if you're like me, a fair number of errors. And those errors can be hard to remember and hard to focus in on and hard to fix. Let's remember one of the most important things about practicing is that it is about identifying and fixing things so that how we're playing matches how we hear in our head what we mean to play. And we need to use some good strategies in order to make that happen so that we don't get frustrated with the process. Practicing isn't performing. It's not playing through pieces. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about where to start practicing, how to identify what chunks to practice, and chunks is a technical term, by the way. We're going to talk about how to determine what is the right system, the right method for you to get the best results out of your time practicing the clarinet. And stick around all the way to the end of this video. I have a really, really great idea for you that I want to share, but I'm not going to share it till the end, so stick around. I want to do an example of some actual kind of real practice. I'm going to play some stuff. I'm going to make some mistakes, not on purpose. That's kind of the embarrassing part, but I'm going to make some mistakes on accident in front of you today. Here's why I'm going to do it, so we can actually see what it looks like, what it feels like to practice. And I'm going to show you how to find the spots to practice and then how to know. And we're going to talk mostly about playing the right rhythms, playing the right fingerings, how to find your best playing when you're in the midst of the heat of the battle of practicing the clarinet. So here's where we're starting with my practice today. I was introduced to this piece maybe a week ago by a student who brought it into the dojo and said, I want to work on this. And I love that. I love it when people say, this is what I want to do. Because if you know what you want to do, you've taken the first step into really learning how to do that thing. But here's the problem. I don't know this piece, and it's hard. All right, so I'm going to play a little bit of it. The tempo that is the performance tempo is 112. It's super fast. It doesn't sound super fast. Wait till you see it. So here it is. I'm not going to play straight through this. I'm going to play a little bit. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to say out loud what it is that I think should go better and how I'm going to go about doing it. Let's check it out. I'm going to pick a tempo out of thin air. I'm going to say 80. Click, click. I'm at 80. And let's check it out. Oh, and by the way, this is, I don't know how to say these words. This is by Mangani, I think. Does a lot of great stuff for the clarinet. And this is Tre Danza Latine. So 3 Latin dances. I know I can translate it and say it properly. So here we go. I'm going to play from the beginning to the first ending. And I'm going to see how it goes. And I'm only going to play this once. And there's going to be mistakes because I don't know this. 1, 2, 3. As promised, some mistakes. So, but I know where they are because I didn't play that much. I know where they are. And so I'm going to look at those mistakes. So I'm going to count back from the first ending. 1, 2. Some big mistakes there. I got to practice those. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before and 2 before the first ending. I didn't do so well. So great. That is actually something I want you to think about. I mean that. Great. Because what I found is an opportunity of what I should practice. We do need to listen carefully to what's happening and really go directly to the things that need work. And the way we know if they need work is if they don't go right. Sounds obvious. We miss that sometimes when we practice. There's evidence when we practice. We got to look at that evidence and we got to use the evidence to make our decisions and use strategies to make that better. All right, here we go. I'm going to leave it at 80 for a second, and I'm going to go from measure 13. Now I need to go to a sliver fingering. That is B, 1, 2, 3, 1 plus this sliver key, because I've got that A sharp. So I've got to land on that sliver key in measure 15. I'm going to have to practice doing that, because that's one of those things where you've got to preemptively get to the sliver key so you can use the proper finger in there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go at 80. So I'm practicing measure 14 into 15. And I'm practicing getting to that sliver key. Okay, so have you noticed? I'm getting it right. Yay! Practicing it right over and over and over at the same speed has really diminishing returns. I don't want to do that. I want to spend my time to have the time be valuable. So I'm going to bump the tempo up. Where am I? Good question. I'm at 92. Still getting it right. Not hard enough. Another way, I don't call this, the educational world calls it this, scaffolding. I've got to scaffold this to make it a little bit harder. I'm going to back up one measure. So I'm going to play two measures. I'm going to play measures 13 and 14. I don't know if you can tell from listening. I can tell you, for some reason, that last 16th note in measure 13, E, going to that F, for some reason, this fingering pattern, my fingers don't want to go to that F. I think I've gotten it right, which is cool, but I know that there's a flaw underground that I've got to work on a little bit. So I'm going to keep the same tempo, even though it's going quite well. I would do that probably 3 or 4 more times. I don't want to bore you. Time to move the tempo up, because I am playing it correctly. We're going to go to 108. Huh, already a problem. And that's something happened there, and I want to share with you the illusion of success. I played it wrong once. Said, oh, there's a problem. Then I played it right. You know what? In a performance, if I were to play this tomorrow at Carnegie Hall, that's a wiggly spot that's going to get away from me in a performance. I can already tell. So I've got to spend more time, because here's the opportunity. We can take that wiggly spot that would get away from me, and we can turn it into a spot of strength by practicing it properly, right? So now we can reduce this to 5 notes. Just the first beat and 1 note of measure 13. So I just kind of traced over it in my head. There are some more practice techniques that you can use. This one's going to go well for me because I've practiced a lot of clarinet in my life. If you haven't, there are some practice techniques to use. I'm going to be making more of these videos, and I'm going to show you those practice techniques later on. I want a very particular idea in your head for this video. But now, this is not for practice. I'm going to go back to 80. And 1, 2. And so I've got that spot. Got to make it harder. And here, and in those rests, here are the subdivisions, so that you are really in tempo. I'm I'm going to speak out loud what I'm thinking in my head. Now I'm going to play the whole measure. And now I'm going to play the whole chunk. I'm nailing it. Oh, it came loose. Loose. And here's what's frustrating. I'm kind of abbreviating this for the video's sake, but that's not good right now. It's still got a little bit of a in there. And is actually what I feel in my body when things are going like that. So I'm going to show you very quickly how I'm going to isolate measure 13. I'm going to practice that first beat in one note a couple times. And you've heard this before. Then I'm going to practice the next beat and one note. Ugly. Okay, so I've got it. Kind of. You know, I would spend more time on this if I weren't doing this in front of you. But you get the idea. We want to get that. And then we're going to put it together. We are. I also just noticed something I'm doing wrong. I am not practicing tonguing that F. Shame on me. I got to practice tonguing that F because we need to practice what it is that we're going to do. And I'm going to tongue that F if I'm playing this properly. So I've got to practice tonguing that F, and I got lazy with that. Shame on me. Don't be like me. Do better than me. We are here, and it's going along. And here's what's interesting. The measure that I identified I needed to practice wasn't really the measure I needed to practice. It was the one beforehand. I probably just misremembered that. But going through this, it's obvious which one was more of the problem. So I'm at 96 right now. I'm going to leave it there. Now I want to go back one more beat to this chromatic passage, the G sharp to E. This is the second beat of measure 12. Good for me. I'm going to go on. Now I'm going to play the whole thing down to that sliver B. Let's see how it goes. So I'm getting it. But now what I need to do is go back to this other spot that I biffed. Also, a technical term that I use in my brain when I practice. All right, so it was pretty good. I need to do the pickups to beat 2 in measure 18 all the way through 19. Let's just review the work I need. See, I need to make it. This is a good thing. I played what was in the previous chunk that I practiced, and I need to make a difference in my head. I need to differentiate these two things. And it comes down to how instead of G sharp F, D, C in measure 14, I've got G sharp F, D, B in measure 19. No wonder I'm messing this up. I need to know that that difference has happened, and I need to know it before. I'm just trying to decode these notes as fast as I can. We have to know what's happening, like what the difference is, so that way we are not just relying on our ability to decode this as fast as possible. We're trying to build larger chunks that we know the whole thing and we know what's coming ahead of time. And that is a perfect example of me not knowing what's coming ahead of time. And I'm glad that I am doing this in front of you right now, because this is the kind of thing that you should be doing in whatever you're practicing. So I'm going to look again. I'm going to practice these two things at the same time to help me get that idea. I'm going to do beat 2 of measure 14 into 15, and I'm going to do beat 2 of measure 19 into 20. To the sliver. Got it. Now I'm going to do 19 to 20. Still not clean. 2, 1. 2, and 2, and 2, and. Now I'm going to play the full measure of 14 into 15. Now I'm going to play the full measure of 19. So I would alternate back and forth, actually, to as one strategy, right? At some point, we need to make sure we are able to really, really clearly know what we are playing, so that we are not decoding every single note. I'm saying that over and over because it's really, really important. We don't really want to be reading every single note. We want to know what's happening, right? So this is a very basic practice strategy. And there are lots of things that I would do to solidify this, to leave no opportunity for mistake in a performance. And I want to show you all those. But I'm going to make a series of videos to do that, because that would be a long video and one that might be hard to sit and watch all of. When I am practicing this and I'm changing tempos and doing it on purpose, here's what I'm trying to find from a learning standpoint. What tempo can you play something 7 out of 10 times correctly? That's the tempo you should be practicing. If you can play it 8, 9, or 10 times correctly, you are playing it too slowly. If you haven't reached your goal tempo, I'm talking about reaching the goal tempo. If you are playing it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 times correctly, you are practicing it too fast. 7 out of 10 is the right place for optimal learning. That's where we find, Dr. Molly Gebrian calls it in her book, Learn Faster, Perform Better, a great book. You should get it. And look for my podcast with her. It's fantastic. We want to find our challenge point. I call it optimal learning. They mean the same thing, which is where are you learning the most? And it's when you have a particular challenge that you can overcome, and you can focus on that. And then that is actually the best way to learn it, because playing it over and over and over and over correctly at a slow speed, that will get you better. It's kind of the longest route to doing so. My suggestion is find that particular challenge point, that optimal learning zone, and spend your time there. And it should always be in little pieces. Don't just play it again. Don't start from the beginning. Let's see how it goes now. That's a waste of your time. Right? We want to do little pieces and then build those little pieces backwards and forwards until we are coming into more stuff, until then finally you are encompassing the entire piece. All right, so here are a couple things that I want to tell you. Remember, I said it at the beginning, I'm going to say it again. Practicing is not playing. Practicing is not performing. They're different things. And one of the things that can be frustrating about practicing is that you kind of have to embrace and appreciate what mistakes give you, which is an opportunity to learn something different. You saw some aha moments in my practicing. Oh, wait a minute. Now I got it. Now I know what this is. Now I can do this. And it's not that I actually learned how to play the clarinet any better. I just learned the music better, and I put the skills that I have as a clarinet player into those slots, in those chunks. And I wouldn't be able to do it if I were playing from beginning to end. Any more than that, I wouldn't be able to remember the mistakes that I made and know what it is that I need to fix. If this video is helpful to you, I'm glad. Please subscribe to this channel. Like this video, would you? All right, we are going to get into some more things. We are definitely getting into some more specific techniques to use in these moments where you're trying to clean things up, because I know a lot of them and I want to share them with you. I would love it if you would talk about your favorite practice technique in the comments. Perhaps you want to share an aha moment that you had when you were practicing that really changed the game for you. I would love to hear that. It would be a nice community thing for us to be sharing ideas and support one another. And you know what? I've got some support for you. There's a PDF where you can just go to my website. I'll leave the link in the description, and you can have a sheet that will help you stay focused. You know, you can just fill it out. You can print lots of them, fill them out every day, or just take that schematic and use a practice journal, a good idea that we'll be talking about later, and really kind of write down so you know what went well, what you were working on, what's the right tempo. Have some notes so that tomorrow and the next day and the next day, you will know where you left off, because that can be a little bit confusing too on days when it takes multiple days to learn something and really internalize it. That's normal. So take your time, write the stuff down, go get this PDF. It's going to help, and I want you to have it for free. Something that would also really help your clarinet practice in a couple of ways, many ways, is the Clarinet Ninja Dojo. I'm not going to do the full spiel right now. There is a link in the description. Would you please check it out? Because here's what it is. This is for adult players who are coming back, just starting, or are relatively advanced. There's two different sections of the dojo. One of them is right for you if you're a grown-up learning the clarinet right now. It is a community-based program where you see a lot of me. You'll see me once a week. You'll have access to me to submit assignments and get feedback if you want to do that. And it is what I have found to be one of the most special things that I've ever encountered. I feel humbled that I've created this thing. It's amazing. People are coming, they're learning clarinet, we're making friends, we're supporting one another. You get my whole system on how to learn how to play the clarinet. I'm going to help you reach the goals that you want to reach on the clarinet. That is the Clarinet Ninja Dojo. Please go check out the page that explains the whole thing on my website, because it is worth investigating. It will help you learn to play the clarinet in the way that you want to play the clarinet. One of the real differences in this and a lot of other online programs is that this is mostly you get me, and you get an insane person who wants you to play the clarinet better than you've ever played the clarinet and achieve your goals and actually get new goals because you've achieved the ones that you've already had, and you can dream bigger. You can dream bigger. We're going to get there. Check out the dojo. I want to see you there. Practice. That's how you get to Carnegie Hall, I think. Yeah, I take the train, usually. But I'm oftentimes listening to music and thinking about the clarinet. But I've also practiced for thousands of hours. Use some strategies. Practice in small bits. Think about exactly what you're trying to fix and use a good strategy on how to fix it. Download the PDF. Get to it. Make the most of your time. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe. Oh, and by the way, have you noticed that I'm using an iPad stand? This is a Craft Geek stand. I made a video about it. It's an incredible piece of stand technology. I know it sounds a little crazy, but it is. And watch this video here. I made the whole introduction, how to, and why you should get this stand. Okay,